Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by PlayPicksAndTheLines.com. I'm your host, Nate Weitzer, solo on the East Coast for one more episode before I head out for Josh Slander's wedding. As I mentioned in the other videos, we will be off for a week after that, and then back in full force for the conference finals and finals, bringing you every single game video and player props, which is what I'm bringing you here tonight. Before I do, please like and subscribe to the page so you don't miss it. When we do come back, check out all the written content on PlayPicksAndTheLines.com. That will not go away anytime soon. And if you do need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to FDPicks.com or DKPicks.com. Find all those listings in your local area. Such as what we got here. Steph Curry, I think, is the first guy I lean to with my narrative approach that, they were embarrassed, and he had a little bit of bulletin board material before the game saying that his plan, when asked about the game plan, was to whoop that trick, a Memphis song that is the Grizzlies' unofficial anthem, and then they got whooped by about 50. Steph and Dre seemed to take it in stride, kind of embracing the smoke in that loss. And I always thought that they were going to lose this game 5 in Memphis and then plan to close out at home, which was plus 210 before the game. Now you don't really get any value betting the Warriors to win this one, but they're definitely going to do everything they can to avoid a game 7 in Memphis. And I trust the experience of these guys to get it done. It's going to be about Steph and Dre because Klay Thompson is not fully back to Klay at all. He's shot very poorly in these last 2 games, along with the entire team. Jordan Poole might not have the experience, and this just isn't as good of a matchup as Denver was for him. Memphis now, with Ja out, is a better defensive team, and they're really limiting what Poole's been able to do. So it's on Steph. And, at home in the playoffs, he's been very reliable in this series, 30 points and 32 points in home games. 6.3 assists per game overall in the series as they're really chasing him off the 3-point line. He's still shooting 37% from 3, which is bad for him, but good for anybody. And he had 4 assists in 25 minutes in that blowout. We did highlight his assist prop in that game because of the fact that they're chasing him off the line. He was definitely on pace to get about 6 or 7 assists if this game remained competitive. I don't think there's any chance the Warriors are getting blown out at home in a game 6 here. And as I mentioned in the game video, Memphis' defense is far, far less disciplined when they're on the road. The Warriors' offense is 12 points better per 100 possessions in the playoffs at home right now, scoring 119 points per game. And Steph is facilitating everything along with handling that scoring. He's been able to get to the line a lot in this series and now in his last 2 after losses in these playoffs, 30 points per game, 5.5 assists per game, and 19 for 21 at the free throw line. And you just look at his last 3 regular season home games against Memphis when he was on that incredible tear in 2021. He had 42.5 points per game and 7 assists per game. So he can definitely light it up. The points prop is down from 28.5 to 27.5. Pretty good odds there at FanDuel like that, or to combine it with the assists at 33.5. I think you're pretty solid there. I think you'll get about 30 points. So I look at 30 plus points in a win potentially as a way to juke that money line, since I don't want to take the Warriors on the spread, but I think Steph is going to back up his trash talk there before the game 5 embarrassment. On the other side of the ball, Tyus Jones is obviously stepping in for Ja and playing extremely efficient basketball. Not a surprise if you follow this guy. He's led the league in assist to turnover ratio in 4 straight years and broke his own assist to turnover ratio record this year with a 7.04 ratio, a 125 offensive rating on the season, tallying 19.5 points and 10 assists per 100 possessions. His points prop is at 23.5 points and assists, or 16.5 points, depending where you want to go there. I would like to combine the assists. I think he's probably looking at about 8 or 9 dimes here, even on the road. The pace is 101.8 in this series. So 100 possessions. He's going to be out there for most of those. He played 41 minutes in a close game in game 4, had 19, 6, and 5. And then in just 24 minutes in that blowout, 21 points, 9 assists. Per 36 this season, he's about 15 points, 7.5 assists. So slightly below this prop. But I think it's a different kind of matchup. It's a different kind of approach for Memphis without Ja. It's really going to be about team basketball and Jones showing what he can do as one of the best backup point guards in the league. All you have to do is look at what he had against the Warriors in January 11th with Ja active in just 23 minutes, 17 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists off the bench. he can exploit these matchups, exploit Curry on the other end and Poole, who's really a terrible perimeter defender at this point. Klay Thompson, not where he's been at. So, and Draymond's still not healthy either. So this Warriors defense, and maybe a little bit of smoke and mirrors as you wear on in the series. How much can Memphis get done? It really depends on what their steady point guard does. And I trust him to get enough points and assists and keep this game relatively close, keep Memphis within the 8-point spread. Switching over to the Eastern Conference game, and I'm going Bucks with both these props. I don't know what to make of the Celtics right now after their incredible fourth quarter collapse there. Definitely don't really want to take any props from that side. But Giannis, I mean, why would you not? His points prop is up 2 from 31.5 to 33.5, but that makes sense. I mean, it really should be around 35. The guy is on a tear in his last 4, averaging 36 points per game with a 42.5% usage rate. The offensive rating is not even very good. It's 102 with a lot of turnovers, a lot of missed shots, but he's just going to attack relentlessly. He is that very steady approach, the antithesis of Boston's leader, Jason Tatum, who is just riled up by the refs and focused on everything but basketball at times in the middle of these games and leading the team. I definitely hope he comes out to play, but I think Giannis is going to outscore him again. And I've highlighted the last 2 games. It was about even money for him to be top point scorer at FanDuel. Now it's minus 160, which is about correct. But I still think you can take that with confidence, betting 1.6 units and getting one back. I don't think there's any chance somebody outscores Giannis in this closeout game. We saw what he did in his last closeout game in the finals, about 50 points, 17 rebounds. So taking the 30 plus in a win gets you plus money at FanDuel. 35 plus in a win is where I would go at plus 240 for the Bucks to hold on and seal this one. They also need to avoid a game 7 in Boston. And that's going to require big, heavy lifting from Giannis, who has a 33% usage rate in the playoffs at home compared to 30% on the road. Like I said, it's about 43% in this series without Chris Middleton. He's going to continue to attack, knowing that he might get a few more beneficial whistles in Milwaukee than he would in Boston. But not like the Bucks have much other choice. They're going to give the ball to their MVP and let him do what he does. And finally, I'm looking at Bobby Portis. I mean, he stepped in for Brook Lopez as a little bit more of a versatile guy on the offensive end. Wasn't necessarily a defensive stopper in Game 5, but had 14 points, 15 rebounds, including 4 in the fourth quarter. He was a +9 in the fourth, had that clinching offensive rebound, and he's got to get rewarded with some more minutes here and some more confidence as he is willing to fire his shot. He was just 4 for 14 from the field in that last game, but the 14 field goals, you got to like it. If his prop's at 11.5 points, and he's going to take 14 shots, he's probably getting those points. That's minus 120, so not the greatest odds. If you combine it with the rebounds at 20.5 points rebounds, you get much better odds there. Boston's had trouble dealing with him in his last 8 now, 12.5 points, 9 rebounds, getting you over the prop. And if Rob Williams is out, they're going to have trouble boarding up once again. So Portis, another guy who's going to give them trouble on the boards on both ends. And just be a good complementary option when they have to close out on Giannis. He's going to get plenty of open shots. The Celtics will be definitely looking at Giannis after the 40-plus points he's put up in each of the last 2 games. So Bucks and Warriors trying to close out at home. Here's a look at the lines right now. Bucks are minus 1.5 in that game 6. 210.5 is the total. Warriors minus 8 after getting blowed out in Memphis, and that total at 218. So starting with the East Coast game here, I mean, really a reverse of the last 2 games for the Celtics in that they came back in the fourth quarter, didn't pull off the win in game 3, but had a huge advantage down the stretch. And they had a 156 offensive rating those previous 2 fourth quarters. Not so much in quarter 4 here. The ball just stuck. It was basically the same issue that plagued Milwaukee in that they were just going one-on-one, settling. They went 21 points, 5 for 5 assist to turnover ratio, allowing 10 points off turnovers, allowing 7 offensive rebounds and 9 second chance points, including basically the clinching bucket, which was a missed Giannis free throw. Bobby Portis grabbed the rebound after Boston unable to secure it. And then Drew Holiday, 2 fantastic defensive plays to seal it for Milwaukee. So, I mean, how do Boston bounce back from here? They're 22-11 straight up after the loss, but not necessarily a dependable team in terms of when they're road dogs, 7-15 straight up. Definitely not dependable in close games, which is what we just saw. 4-11 in 3-point games all year. Milwaukee is 6-2, and that's kind of the next step in the evolution for this team. Is that do they have a closer? And Jason Tatum is not that. I mean, he continues to put up empty calorie stats, and not necessarily saying that his shooting was terrible. I mean, he was 2-for-11 from three, but he doesn't have those timely buckets, that ability to stave off the run. It was very similar to game two in the sense that Boston was just hanging on for dear life after blowing doors off Milwaukee early. They really had a ton of points off turnovers in that first half, fast break points in their favor as well. They built that lead all the way to 14 points in the fourth quarter, in fact, and then Giannis came back as he does, as great players do. But then down the stretch, the Celtics, their offense just looks completely stuck. And it's once again Tatum leading by example, complaining to the refs and costing his team points the other way. I think that happened 3 different times in the fourth quarter. Someone has tracked that the Celtics basically missed a rotation because someone who was complaining to the ref instead of getting back. And it's not as if the officiating was terribly one-sided in any of these games. It's been a very tough series to officiate, as it often is with Giannis. They have been calling those offensive fouls on Giannis. He was getting into a bit of foul trouble. Really, the most key officiating point was a Grayson Allen and one that if Udoka had used his challenge in the fourth quarter, might have gotten reversed into an offensive foul. The only contact was Allen pushing off while he was in the air. It didn't go, and that was just another key part of Milwaukee's comeback as they shot 6 for 6 from three in that fourth quarter. And for the game, finally some positive regression shooting the three, 45%. Pat Connaughton extremely clutch on that one. And they lost the paint points battle for the first time all series. They had been leading the paint points by 20 points per game, lost it 50-44 in game 5. Still huge battle advantage on the boards, as I mentioned. So 7 O-Rebs in the second half were huge, 17 for the game. Playing Bobby Portis a lot more down the stretch, and no Rob Williams for the Celtics to contend with those bigs with Brolo and Portis. So Williams questionable tonight. It sounds sort of possible that he will play. Udoka indicated that the extra couple days rest will allow the swelling to go down. Maybe Williams can play, but only maybe 20 to 25 minutes. I think you definitely like the over if he can't play, or if you think he's not going to be super effective. The defensive rating is 115.8 for the Celtics without Rob Will in these playoffs, 107 with him. They rebound 4 fewer rebounds per game, 1.5 fewer blocks and steals per game. And it's just a very important line of defense for Giannis, who's been able to get around Al Horford, his primary defender. Udoka's gone away from using Grant Williams on him. And he's just roasting Tatum or Brown, putting them in the basket when he gets that switch. Giannis, the market finally has caught up with him that he's so obviously going to lead the game in scoring. I highlighted this last 2 games. It's close to even money for him to be the top point scorer in the game. Minus 165 now at FanDuel. It's still a very safe bet, in my opinion. His points prop is up to 33.5 and close to even money there. And you can get Giannis 30 plus in a win at plus 140. Which is just a different version of the money line, in my opinion. I mean, I guess there's a world where he scores 28, 29 and the Bucks still win, but his usage rate is 42.5% in these last 4 games, and he's really thriving without Williams down there, just attacking relentlessly, 10.5 free throw attempts per game. And the 35 plus for Giannis, which is also pretty where you would forecast where his prop is plus 245 in the win. I mean, that's what you expect from a killer, from a champ like Giannis. In the last time he was in a big closeout spot, he had a 50-17 game against the Suns to put them away. And now he's looking to put these Celtics away, kind of carrying the torch on from LeBron. This is what LeBron did in terms of putting away the Celtics with huge Game 6 performances. I don't think the Celtics are going to go down easy, but I don't like them in a close game. That has definitely drained my confidence of their performance in clutch time. So Bucks to win by 1-10 at plus 180. I think I like that, just like I like Celtics to win a close one at home in game 5, and they choked it away. Bucks to win by 5 or less is plus 420. And both of those are worth a look. I don't think Boston's just going to slink away, get blown out. They find a way to come back and at least make it close if they get down. I think they'll actually be leading at half because of the response to this epic collapse and the leadership in that locker room and the leadership from Udoka to come out strong and very, very focused. So they're even money to lead at half, plus 100 on the money line. Like that bet. I also like no team to lead wire to wire, which has basically never happened this series since game 1 when Milwaukee came out more aggressive. That's minus 140. Again, like the Giannis bet, it's not great odds, but it's very, very safe bet, it seems. And then the total at 210, like I said, I think you like the over if you don't think Williams is going to be that effective or if he's not going to be able to play. So that's how I'll play this game. Definitely hope the Celtics can pull it out because everybody wants to see a game 7 in Boston on Sunday. Switching over to the Western Conference semis here and a game 6 and now out at Golden State after Memphis won a game 5 in really decisive fashion. Steph and Draymond kind of having fun with their pregame guarantee or whatever you want to call it, saying they're going to whoop the Grizzlies without Ja Morant, and then they go out and lose by 50. Everything that we worried about in game 4 in terms of them starting 0 for 15 from 3, not leading until the final 45 seconds, depending on free throws, to finally come back and close that game out. Klay Thompson still looking flat. It all just continued in game 5, and Memphis, with Steven Adams back, was finally able to play Memphis basketball. The last 2 games, they've outscored the Warriors in the paint, 106-78. They are holding the Dubs to 23 for 76. That's 30% from 3 and a 96 offensive rating in those games. Last game, they out-rebounded them by 18 and had 18 offensive rebounds, 24 second chance points. And then the other Grizzball stat is that they had 29 points off 22 turnovers, where the Dubs had an even 1-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. And on the other end, Memphis, very efficient with the basketball because Mr. Assist to turnover ratio, Tyus Jones, is now leading the offense instead of Ja Morant. And it's just a very interesting changeup that they can throw at you when Tyus Jones is your point guard instead of Ja Morant. And the 40% usage rate Morant was posting and all the big numbers he was putting up were great, but it doesn't really involve the teammates. It doesn't really strain the defense in the same way, even if you say, oh, well, they can't stop Morant. So, of course, the Warriors defense isn't lights out, but it's just a different approach now when you have an entire team moving the ball, guys that can threaten. And really the biggest adjustment for Memphis from game 4 to 5 was Dillon Brooks and Jaren Jackson not chucking, because they don't need to do that. They don't need to try to be Ja Morant and take on his scoring load and try to fill that void. They just need to play a role in a very deep and efficient offensive team. And now I think they are comfortable in that role. We all know they started 20-2 without Ja, with an excellent defensive rating in those games before losing their final 3 regular season games, just kind of sitting on their seed down the stretch. Look, at Memphis at +8, I definitely lean that way more than I'm trusting the Warriors to cover 8. Warriors are fully capable of blowing them out at home. We've seen some games tip the other way in this series and just get out of control in the second half. But I'm not as high on the Warriors as most odds makers here had them as the favorite to win the title coming into this before that embarrassing game 5. I just disagree completely. I still think the Eastern Conference team, whatever team emerges from there, is going to beat the Warriors if that's their matchup, or maybe the Suns if they can hold on against the Mavs here. But I digress. I mean, the interesting thing here is, Memphis at +8, and actually the over on the road. There's some the splits are really interesting in terms of Memphis scoring a lot less on the road, but their defense worse. Their 3-point shooting is what's interesting, up from 34 to 38% on the road, though. And the opponents shooting 40% from 3 on the road. And that includes the Warriors 53% with their 142 explosion in game 3. So I lean towards over here. It's 218. The last game went over just because Memphis on their own. Warriors are going to respond on the offensive end of the floor. I don't know if they are as well positioned to stop this team defensively now that they have a facilitating center in Adams and that they're playing team ball with Jones running the point. The Dubs do have a much better defensive rating in the playoffs at home. It's 107 compared to 118.5. They're still 3-2 to the over in those games because they're scoring their offensive rating 12 points higher per 100 possessions, and they're scoring 119. They are undefeated at home. So I do like Warriors to win a close game if it comes down to it. Just like Boston struggles in the clutch, Memphis very bad in the clutch in this series. They basically coughed away game 4 when they had it in hand. And the Warriors, their superior experiences, it really came to light in those last few minutes. So, but Memphis, the fact that their defense is worse on the road and that they allow 112.5 makes me think we can get there with Memphis covering something in the range of Warriors getting about 115 and then Memphis getting about 108. But I think the teaser would be prime territory here to get Memphis plus 12 and then get that total down to 214. Memphis, if they're able to shoot as well as they did from 3, like I said, they have a better percentage on the road. They shot 41% from 3 in this last game, which is kind of out of characteristic. But with Desmond Bane back healthy, and like I said, they're spreading the ball, moving it until they get a good shot, I think they can continue to find offense there and maintain at least something from what they had in that 135 game. But again, I think Steph Curry and Draymond, too much experience there for them to lose this one at home. I think they get the win and march on. I just don't know about a -8 spread. Not really interested in that one. But that is all the time we have for you in this one. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss a video when we do come back after this week off. And we will have a full slate of games in the conference finals and finals. Check out all the written content on PlayPicks and thelines.com to make sure you have your best bets over the next couple weeks. Wish Josh a happy wedding, and until we see you next, happy betting.